Hope you're having a good day today. It is March 10th. Our reading today comes from the book of Numbers. And let's see, today we are in Numbers chapters 32 and 33, if you're following along with us. Numbers chapter 32, it's the account of Reuben and Gad settling in Gilead. And what we're talking about on the other side of the Jordan. So we're talking about on the east side of the Jordan. And we'll come back and we're going to read this passage. But it's the account of them asking if they could settle there, and it is granted them. And as we read on, the next chapter is just a recounting of Israel's journey. Verse 2, now Moses wrote down the starting points of their journeys, and you have beginning all the way from when they first left Egypt. In verse 3, after the Passover, on the day after the Passover, the children of Israel went out with boldness. Verse 4, for the Egyptians were burying all their firstborn whom the Lord had killed. And you just have the recounting, as Moses wrote, as they moved all about the wilderness. We also have in verse 38 and verse 39, the death of Aaron. Aaron's going to be 123 years old when he died on that certain mountain. So it speaks about that. And then, of course, you have the command to drive out the inhabitants in such things as that. But let's back up. Let's back up to chapter 32. And this is an interesting account. Verse 1, now the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had a very great multitude of livestock. And when they saw the land of Jazer, the land of Gilead, and indeed the region was a place for livestock, the children of Gad, the children of Reuben, came and spoke to Moses, to Eleazar the priest, to the leaders of the congregation, saying, and then you have the leaders of the congregation, verse 4, the country which the Lord defeated before the congregation of Israel is a land for livestock, and your servants have livestock. Therefore they said, if we have found favor in your sight, let this land be given to your servants as a possession. Do not take us over the Jordan. And Moses said to the children of Gad and to the children of Reuben, shall your brethren go to war while you sit here? Now why will you discourage the heart of the children of Israel from going over into the land which the Lord has given them? Thus your fathers did when I sent them away from Kadesh Barnea to see the land. For when they went up to the valley of Eshcol and saw the land, they discouraged the heart of the children of Israel, so that they did not go into the land which the Lord had given them. And Moses just reads them the riot act. Here they are. And for whatever reason, these tribes, it looks like, the commentators say, they probably had more livestock than the others, and they haven't crossed the Jordan yet. They're on the east side, and they see that it is a suitable land for livestock. So they come to Moses and the leaders, and they say, hey, we can just take this land. This looks good to us. And Moses just starts absolutely reading them the riot act. And when you really think about it, you understand where Moses is coming from. Because here you have all the people. They've been wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. And the whole point is to cross the Jordan River. Well, they haven't crossed the Jordan River yet into Canaan. And all of a sudden, right when the finish line is in sight, you have these people saying, we'll just go ahead and stop here. And Moses is like, you got to be kidding me. Because if you have some people stop there, then what do you think everybody else is going to start saying? It's like, we are not there yet. We need to cross the Jordan River. And Moses is remembering back some 40 years prior to this, when there were some other people that said, I don't think we want to go up there. I don't think we want to cross the Jordan River and mess with those people. And Moses is saying, you got to be kidding me. But then the people come back. Let me get over there and I'll show you. After Moses just absolutely gives it to them, warning them and telling them, reminding them about everybody who had died. And then look, they come near and they say, listen, we will build sheepfolds here for our livestock and cities for our little ones. But we ourselves will be armed, ready to go before the children of Israel. Because Moses, I believe, had spoken about that. ready to go before the children of Israel until we have brought them to their place, and our little ones will dwell in the fortified cities because of the inhabitants of the land. We will not return to our homes until every one of the children of Israel has received his inheritance. And let me back up, because this is what Moses says. Shall your brethren go to war while you sit here, in verse 6. And that's what Moses is concerned about. It's like, listen, we still got to deal with all those people on the other side of the Jordan, and we're going to need your help. And here you are, and we'll just stay here. Y'all go on ahead. And Moses says, you got to be kidding me. And so these tribes say, listen, listen, we will come with you. We will go to war with our brethren. But if it's okay, we will build sheepfolds here, and we'll leave our little ones here. But every man who's able, they will cross the Jordan, and we will fight with our brethren. And when they receive their inheritance, only then will we come back. And that's what happened. And this is how you have tribes on the other side of the Jordan River. This is how that transpires. Okay. So let's make some applications. One is, Moses is saying, don't make the same mistakes that our people made all those years ago. Don't make the same mistakes. And usually history repeats itself. And Moses is saying, you better make sure that history's not repeating itself. You better learn from the mistakes of times past. In 1 Corinthians 10, when it talks about all the things that happened to Israel, and the passage concludes by saying, these things were written for our admonition. Namely, we better learn from the mistakes that they made. And Moses is saying, you better not be making the same mistake. That's what he's saying. But that's what happens a lot of times. History repeats itself. But he's also saying, you better not just be thinking about yourself. And I think that might be the bigger issue here. Because he says, so all your brethren are going to have to go fight, and you're just going to sit here. And they say, no, okay, we'll go on and we'll fight, and afterwards we'll come back. You better not just be thinking about yourself. Am I my brother's keeper? You better believe it. We are called to be our brother's keeper. You know, sometimes folks have the idea that we are not the police. That we do not police others, that we are only supposed to police ourselves. We're only supposed to discipline ourselves. We're not supposed to care about everybody, and it's just preposterous when you start really thinking about it. And people who go down that road and they think, that's not our job to police others. They're not reading their Bible. Or they're not applying their Bible. Because from the very beginning, am I my brother's keeper? The answer to that, Cain, was yes. Instead, you are your brother's killer. But don't just be thinking about yourself. These tribes, don't leave your brethren. Don't neglect your brethren. You go and you fight for them. And you fight with them. And they say, okay. Another element to this, and this one to sort of back up a little bit, and just as an application, some of the commentators make a point that when Israel does end up going off into captivity later on with Babylon, it looks like these tribes are some of the first ones to be taken away. I think it's Matthew Henry who makes this point. And we'll simply say this. These folks, they needed to think real carefully about distancing themselves from their brethren. They need to think real carefully because now they're on the outskirts. They are across a river. And they are closer to those foreign countries. You know, because on the west side, what do you have? You have the Mediterranean. Down south, you have desert. And trouble's going to come from up north. But these tribes, These tribes have, because the land looked nice, they distanced themselves from their brethren. And it looks like they're going to be some of the first ones taken captive. You might want to think about that. Remember with Abraham and Lot. Lot pitched his tent even as far as Sodom. And before Sodom is ever destroyed by the Lord, Lot is taken captive. Lot is taken captive. He had distanced himself from Abraham. Abraham's going to have to come rescue him. You better be real careful distancing yourself from God's people. The further away you get from God's people, the more danger you may be in. You might think about that application, because it may be a good one. So anyway, it's an interesting account as we see this is how, like I said, tribes settle on both sides of the Jordan. Hope the study's been helpful for you. Appreciate you following along. Hope you tune in for our next study. Thanks for studying along today. Hope you're having a good day.